Good evening, everybody. How we doing tonight? I hope you've all had a great day. Flying the Screaming Eagle behind me tonight in honor of the 101st Airborne Division. You see, I'm a military brat, and I grew up with the military being a major part of my life. The 101st is where my dad served in Vietnam. I lived outside of Fort Campbell my entire life, really, other than a few times during my military career when I was in other locations. But home was always back in Western Kentucky. 101st Unit has done so many things. Any movie that you watch on TV now, you'll see that Screaming Eagle patch. Almost every one of them. I can remember back when I was a kid going through the gates, the MPs would stand there in their bloused khakis with a big old shiny chrome belt buckle with a white belt with a white collar scarf with a screaming eagle on it and a polished chrome helmet. And they stood there at the position of attention, and as the cars drove by, they would snap them, with a purpose, as the cars would come through. They were a really proud unit, and they still are today. They no longer are considered airborne now. They're air mobile or air assault. One thing for those of you who are a little younger, you might remember a group that captured Osama bin Laden. That unit was from Fort Campbell. So you see, they're still striving uh, today. They're still one of the top units. So we're going to fly the old screaming chicken tonight in honor of them. Now, I never served at Fort Campbell. Most of my career was at Fort Knox. I enlisted in 1980, got out in 94. Most of that time was in reserves, uh, some active. I was in the reserves at the time that Desert Storm broke out, and I volunteered and went back active and served during Desert Storm. And when it was over, I went back home. And in 94, I got out due to some injuries. So when it comes to the Constitution, I take it very seriously. It's something that has been a part of my bringing up my whole life. I'm 62 years old now, and I still will do anything I can to defend that Constitution because my oath did not come with an expiration date. So till the day I die, I'll always be an old soldier. That's just who I am. So when it comes to the 1A community, I support a lot of the things that they do. Some of the things they do, I don't agree with. For example, going and standing outside of a bank wearing a mask and a cap and glasses with a video camera, standing there recording this bank is not doing anything to defend our Constitution. You're not exercising your rights. You're looking for a confrontation for clicks and views. That's all. And anybody with any sense can tell that. One of the biggest ones that irritates me is Afghanistan press. Uh, he claims to be a photojournalist who's making a travel video, and he's traveled 5 years around the country. But all he does is exactly what I said. He goes and stands outside of a business and shines his camera right in the front door and waits for a confrontation. And the sad part about it is he is a good photographer, and he goes to all these places. He could be making videos and showing the countryside, showing America, and he would get just as many views, if not more. Show us national monuments and parks. You know, it would all come back around, and it would be honorable. But standing outside of a business until you piss somebody off and they finally say something is not defending our Constitution. Now, when you have like Sean Reyes with Long Island Audits, who goes and exposes the corruption, follows through with it, gets results. For example, the issue with the New York police departments, the precincts having no filming signs up, and he got that uh, passed to where they had to take them down. Unfortunately, he had to end up getting arrested and taking it to court to do it. But the courts are where we're going to make the changes. Now, exposing those crooked officials and bringing their attention, then that's a good thing. But we need to be going to city council meetings and expressing our grievances to our officials. That's one of the keys of the First Amendment is the right to redress your grievance. So pick up the phone, call your congressman, call your senator, call your governor, your mayor, your councilman, and expose these things that are a violation of the Constitution. There are 5 elements to the Constitution: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, and freedom to redress your grievances to your government, and the freedom of press. Now, a big question comes up from the anti-frauditing community when it comes to that issue of free press. They say that you're not everybody has the right to be free press. That anybody picks up a camera and goes out and records is not press. Well, I beg to differ. The individual citizen journalist has been a staple throughout history. The citizen journalist is the one that steps outside that norm, who doesn't follow the rules of the hierarchy of a major news company. And if you have a channel where you're disseminating information or you're writing a paper or a journal or you have a blog, then you are the press and you have that right. And every individual has that right. Now, how you use it is totally up to you. You know, just because it is your right, you can also abuse it. And that's some of the things that I see happening. Then you take, like, for public safety, who helped expose all about Jamie Noel and his crimes and everything that he was doing. These are the things that we need to be focusing on. Not going to the post office and standing in the corner with a mask and a hood and a camera waiting for a confrontation. You know, that's not that's not doing any good. And as a result of those kind of activities, we're seeing a lot of people getting arrested and going to jail because they're going about it in the wrong way. You know, this week we saw one of the biggest ones in Chile. Uh, I'll bring up the screen here, share with you. Give me just a minute here. All right. Now, I'm sure most all of you have followed this already and seen it, but I'm going to use Here's the Deal. He put out a real good video on it. So we're going to take a look at that. Let me go ahead and enlarge it, and we'll discuss a little bit about it.
Really conduct himself in a way that would not psychologically disturb the people who already stagger under the drunkenness of their own unbridled power. Now, this is an hour and a half court proceeding, and I'm only going to comment on what I consider the highlights. The link to the entire video will be provided in the description. Here's the awkward initial clash between Chile and Judge Ann Zimmerman.
Are you Mr. DeCastro? Can you turn off your phone, please? The one that's in your hand?
Just meeting with my lawyer. He's on his way here now. I'm just waiting for him to get
All right, I'm gonna wait for your attorney, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
All right, Jose DeCastro, 23 CR 013015.
Good morning, Your Honor. Agnes Sotelo is making case for the record. Good morning, State.
Good morning, Michael. Me on behalf of the defendant, President Beagle this morning.
So I have signed 2 meter requests that permit recording or photographing these proceedings, but I have not granted any other requests to record or live stream these proceedings. So
Okay. So the first time, okay, so the first time we have a interaction between Chile and the judge is over him having his phone on, and he says he's talking to his lawyer. So she gives him the opportunity to come back when his lawyer comes in. So then we get this beginning here, and she makes a statement that she's authorized 2 people to film. Now we have here Supreme Rule, Supreme Rule, damn, Supreme Court Rule 230 mandates, absent of showing a good cause, that news reporters file a formal written request for permission prior to providing coverage of judicial proceedings. So they've done that, and she's approved 2 of them, and that's all. So now she's going to make sure that no one else uh, is filming.
So I need Mr. DeCastro and everybody else who wants to stay in the courtroom to surrender their phones, or you can leave.
Are your phone helping them now? Take one from you.
Americans have to know that nearly every courtroom across the land is a constitution-free zone. You have to disarm and you have to follow the court rules, which hardly ever line up with the Bill of Rights.
Now, he's right. When you're in a court, you have to follow the rules of that court and follow the rules of that judge. And whether or not it does line up with the Bill of Rights is questionable. But whatever that judge rules as official in her court, then that's what it is, because it is her court. And she is the ultimate authoritarian in that court. So she's telling everybody to give up their phones or they can leave. Simple.
Zimmerman demonstrates her disdain for Chili's rights and the rights of everybody else in the courtroom to personally record and act as press. She makes it clear that it's her courtroom, she's in control, and only allows certain people to record. Now here's the friction between Chili, the judge, and the court bailiff.
I need Mr. DeCastro to empty all of his pockets.
What's that?
Empty
empty
your
your
pockets.
pockets and give up your phones to the judge.
I have to give you my phones?
Yeah.
My phones have to be completely off.
I don't really want to be part of your YouTube channel. So,
You already are.
great,
You already are.
awesome.
I'm not gonna get into this guy though. I'll get into someone else.
No,
I'm not touching myself.
No, they're gonna go to my marshal.
He's a pig.
Excuse me?
I said he's a pig.
Okay.
Now, there you go. This is where Chili's big ego comes in and his big mouth runs when he ain't supposed to. That's one of his problems is he don't know when to shut up. He goes and calls the cop a pig. Now, that's a wonderful way to get a start off. When you're in front of a judge that's about to decide your freedom, the last thing you want to do is piss her off. But does Chili care? No, because Chili's an alpha male and everybody else is a beta. We know this because he tells us it on every video.
So I'm not gonna permit you to speak to anybody in my courtroom in that manner. And if you don't want to apologize, I'm gonna hold you in contempt.
I apologize to the court, Your Honor.
No, you can apologize to, they've done nothing to you.
Actually, Your Honor, when you were here, you came over and gave me a directive for no reason and started telling me what to do.
Okay, well,
I have all the respect in the world for the court. I follow the rule of law all the time. I
no,
trust
it
the rule of
is their job to maintain the safety and security of the courtroom.
law. I agree with you, Your Honor.
So if you want to speak like that in my courtroom, I'm gonna hold you in contempt. And if I hold you in contempt, you're going to jail. That is not my wish. Okay?
I wish you could.
All right. So I need you to empty your pockets too. Suit pocket, pants pocket.
This is illegal. This is a violation of my Fourth Amendment.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. I don't have any recording devices on me. What are you talking about?
How about suit jacket?
I don't have anything on me. This is preposterous.
No, it's
This
not.
really is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Mr. Me, your phone too. Off.
They're recording everything.
They have a media request.
And here he goes now again. You know, you hired that lawyer for a reason, so he could talk for you because he knows the right way to talk in a courtroom. You obviously don't, because you're going to stand here and argue with the judge that it's a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. And that everyone and that the recordings are already being made. You don't sit and argue with the person that's got your freedom in their hands. I'll say it again. And let's see what happens next.
That's right, and I'm not recording anything. Is that your guy here took my phone, so he's not, his phone's not on. Right? Make sure you take the lawyer's phone too?
No, I'm not gonna take the lawyer's phone. He's an officer of the court.
Calling a cop a pig in a courtroom is not advisable when you're standing before a black-robed agent of the state who's already exhibiting signs of extreme bias against Chili and his YouTube channel. The court marshal clearly didn't have to grab the phones out of Chili's hand in that manner. From the start, the deck is already stacked against delete laws. As we've seen many times before in countless videos, when the fragile egos of authoritarians are damaged, any semblance of rationality and fairness evaporates. They are now no longer psychologically able to stay on the task of judging by objective law. They are now governed by their frail emotions. This is why Chili's in this situation to begin with. He damaged the unstable emotions of Officer Brandon Bork during his traffic stop. So,
And I'm going to have to agree 100% with Brian right there. That's exactly what happened. Is he has set and bruised the ego of this judge. He bruised the ego of this cop. Had he just walked up there and filmed and left it alone at that, then he wouldn't be in this problem. But people want to interact with or interject themselves into these police stops. And that's where the problem comes in. Because they do have the ability to get you for interference, and we see it happening. So why are you continually doing it? You know, getting arrested and going to jail is not helping the cause. It's giving them more and more and more ammunition and creating precedences that they will continue to use against the auditors. So again, I say you need to be wiser about the way you go about doing things. Now, I'm going to skip through. Like I said, I'm sure everybody's already seen this. We're going to skip down to the end here. Actually, I'm going to take that back. We're going to go over to the beginning because I want to. I think Brian did a real good job right here highlighting this.
Sir, I'm not gonna permit you to speak to anybody in my courtroom in that manner. He wants this. He wants to get arrested. He wants to
Look at Chili.
get into an altercation with police officers. He welcomes this. This helps his YouTube channel. He called the officers here in my courtroom today pigs. He called and he's nodding his head up and down. So apparently he hates every law enforcement officer in the United States. All right, please stand up, sir.
Look at him.
I'm a member of the press. Go get in your car and do your.
Sitting there giving a thumbs up, shaking his head. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was doomed from the beginning. He doomed himself. And as we all know, the end results was he wound up with 180 days. Now, I definitely feel like that he was charged with too much. I think he should have gotten the suspended sentence that the prosecutor recommended. But instead, the judge decided to throw the book at him because he pissed her off. Because she was going to prove that she was more of an authority than him. So that's where one of the problems really is coming into. Now, another thing that bothers me, and I see it all the time, uh, is the way people act whenever you lose a family member. Whenever someone loses a family member, their family, it brings out a whole lot of ugly, a lot of it, a whole lot of it. And it causes a lot of hurt, and it causes a lot of separation in family members because of pure greed. Now, if you take, for example, for public safety, his channel started out because of a raid that happened after his uncle had passed away. Now, we've seen in the documents where he was given the motorcycle from his uncle, and probate court had issued it to him. But because of other members of his family being greedy, uh, mainly his mother and his sister, they made a false report accusing him of stealing the stuff. Then that resulted in the raid. And if you go back and watch his videos, there's one where he's talking to one of the cops that actually did the raid, and they tell him that they've been told to return everything that they took to him because they had done wrong, and their uh, higher authorities, their bosses had told them that they needed to return it. But before that happened, his mother and them got their hands on it and ended up selling it. And as a result of what happened in that raid and everything, is what motivated Chris to start his channel. Now, through his channel, he's gone on to expose many things. He's helped to expose a lot of tyranny, a lot of conspiracies, a lot of crookedness, and bringing it out to attention. He did a lot of work on that Jamie Knoll case. So that brings us up now to the more current time. And you see, I was sitting at home watching YouTube with me and my wife when we saw the live stream from Meade County. Now, I'm sure a whole lot of others watched it also and seen the same things we did. And here's my opinion about it. They did absolutely nothing wrong. They came in there to get information on a case from 1998. And we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But we'll put that on the back burner for a little bit. In 1998, supposedly, allegedly, he got arrested over a joint. So he was trying to get court records to take into court the next day to show the judge. And he had to get them from Meade County. So he goes in, he's being polite to everyone there, speaking nice to the lady that's helping him, telling her how much she appreciates what she's doing. Tiffany even showed enough respect for others, that when another gentleman walked in and she realized she was live streaming, she left the room, went outside, so that nothing that other individual might say would accidentally get broadcasted over her live stream, because she did the right thing. That's the kind of person she is. But then this other clerk comes up and tells tells the clerk that's helping Chris to walk away and not help him. And he asks for her name so that he could file a grievance. And she walks away. And apparently at some point, someone either made a phone call or pushed a panic button, not really sure exactly which. But the police were alerted. And it happens to be that they were in the same building just down the hall. And up walks Ray Whited. He comes in. Chris starts talking to him with a regular, normal tone. Reaches out, shakes his hand. Ray returns his handshake. And then starts to escalate things. And right away, he throws out this, if I tell you to leave and you don't leave, then I'll arrest you for disorderly conduct. So already, he's already getting ready to go straight to an arrest, instead of trying to de-escalate the situation or ask questions. He gets his chest all pumped up. I'm Chief Deputy Ray Whited. He wanted to make certain that they knew that he was Chief Deputy Ray Whited, making sure that they understood that he was not just a normal deputy. In my opinion, he's Barney Fife. That's about the way he acts. Right away, he wants to get all tore up. So then he begins to go over this whole escalation deal back and forth of, oh, tell me what a court clerk's job is, you know, and he continues and continues and continues to push the issue until finally Chris just says, you just need to go on, be dismissed. And that was it. That was the big straw that broke the camel's back. Don't tell Barney to be dismissed. You're not going to tell him anything. And immediately he's, we'll just go to jail. And he grabs Chris, and Chris puts his hands behind, he lays his papers down, lays his camera down, and puts his hands behind his back. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I don't call that resisting arrest. But that's what he was charged with. So, excuse me there a minute. So then he goes after Tiffany, grabs her, pulls his taser out, asks her if she wants to be tased, presses it against her, pushes it to her so hard that we seen the bruise the next day. This little girl, this little woman, who's 5'4", maybe 100 pounds if she's lucky, and he's gonna jerk her around, throw her around. I call him Barney Fife, and I think about whenever he was handcuffing Chris, and Chris would ask him why he was shaking. It's like old Barney and shaking his gun in the West, or if you ever saw that old movie. I'm giving away my age. So, hey, y'all like my Stone Vet hat? I got that in here. I'm pimping it tonight. I enjoy the hell out of his channel. If you haven't been over there to his channel, you need to go check it out. Yeah, Stone Vet's a good old boy. He's a veteran. Hippie is on his channel with him. Another veteran. And these are the boys. Those boys there. Kind of backtracking here a little bit. Talk about veterans. These men and women throughout the 2000s who have been in combat in Afghanistan and all through the Middle East. I take my hat off to them. They are all true heroes. You know, when I came back from Desert Storm, I came back to yellow ribbons, ticker tape parades, and everyone making a big deal out of it. Well, I realized the reason that they did that was because they was ashamed of the way they acted when the Vietnam vets came back. So now this is the first real conflict of any kind, and so they want to make a big issue of showing support. But it really embarrasses me because that was not a real conflict. That was just a slam dunk. I mean, everything was brought on them at one time. And they had absolutely no opportunity, no chance of anything. They were so overpowered. But our men and women of today that are fighting, I relate them to the same type of soldiers of Vietnam because they are dealing with a situation where they don't know where their enemy is because the enemy looks just like, a friendly. So my hat's off and my heart goes out to all the veterans and all the soldiers currently on duty. God bless you all and thank you for what you've done. So let's get back now to where we was at on old Ray White in Meade County. Once Chris said to Barney that he was recording this and that he had gotten plenty of cops fired. What does Ray say? I'm going to hold this video until after you go see the judge. So there, he's going to hold evidence, admitting himself, Mr. Chief Whited, Chief Deputy Whited, the big man, the big law enforcement, is admitting to withholding evidence in order to make sure and sway the direction that the court goes. But this is our good cop. All right. Now, we was talking about the case in Hardin County over the joint. Now, a lot of people made a big issue that Chris was saying that an imposter did it. In fact, more than once, he said that he doesn't believe that an imposter did it. He's only said that that was a possibility, which it is. I guess anything's possible. But that's not what I believe it is. You see, the one thing I noticed out of that DUI guy interview was he broke the timeline down. And I might not be exactly correct, but he explained how the warrant came about and if I'm not mistaken, it was issued in 1999. So this warrant was issued in 1999. Now, do you really expect me to believe that in 25 years, think about this now, 25 years, in the last, 3 years, 4 years of Chris being doing extensive, avid, uh, extensive activist work, that no cop has ran him, that all the times that he's gotten stopped for a traffic violation and his name got ran, that warrant never showed up. In fact, Chris told me that he went to jail one time in Kentucky during that 25-year period. I don't remember the exact uh, circumstances, but we were talking on a panel on General Specifics uh, channel, and I brought this up, and that's when he told us about this other arrest. So he was arrested and booked, and no warrant came up. He's been stopped for speeding tickets and other traffic violations. No warrants came up. He's been messing with every cop around in Louisville, in Indiana, uh, that will step out of line. And he's been to the mayor's office. So you don't think that at no time did any of those run a background check on him? I don't believe it. What I believe is that when he went to the state police headquarters to file a complaint against that officer with the father of the young man who got severely beaten, that they concocted all this bullshit. And the good old boy system of Kentucky has continued to work together with it all the way along. Now, I don't believe that Barney Fife O'Ray arrested them for anything to do with the Hardin County case. I think that was just strictly his ego. But once the connection was made, I'll guarantee you there was a bunch of phone calls being made. I'll absolutely guarantee it. I know the system. You know, I'm from Western Kentucky. I've grown up my whole life seeing it. You know, when I was a kid, the sheriff in our town uh, would bust people on the streets, take their drugs, give them to his cousin, and his cousin get right back out on the streets to sell them. And there was a unaliving of two citizens, prominent citizens, and it was done in an execution style. They were tied to a chair back to back, and then the house was burnt down afterwards. And there was a big investigation into this. It went on for a while. And lo and behold, one of the rings, diamond rings, that belonged to the man was found in the possession of the sheriff. So he wound up going to jail himself when it was all said and done. So I've seen Kentucky good old boy corruption my whole life. And it ain't no different than what's going on right now. You got a little country town of Radcliffe, and their chief deputy, who I'll guarantee you he knows half of the town by name, has coffee with them at the local diner. Yeah. Hell, he's probably a coach on one of the little league teams or something, or an umpire. It's that good old boy system is what's going on. They stepped away when he took that complaint into the headquarters. They were gone. They went to supposedly read the statute that he had showed them. And they were gone close to 45 minutes before they showed back up with that warrant. They say that the pencil is mightier than the sword. Well, I believe the pencil did a whole lot of work when it comes to that joint. And if it wasn't true, if Chris wasn't fighting for his own honor, don't you think he would have just took the deal and been done with this instead of going through all of this, spending all this money for lawyers? If I'm not mistaken, I believe, and I will try to confirm this before the next video. I believe they offered him a fine and like 2 weeks of public service or something like that. Then just be done with it. So, and if I'm not correct, I'm pretty close. The deal was a pretty sweet little deal to just took it and be done with it. But Chris ain't doing that. He's proven that he's telling the truth. And he's bringing it out that, again, like I said, the pencil is mightier than the sword. When that case ended, the judge said he wanted to talk to a judge that was there before, and he wanted to do a little thinking and looking into it. And he insinuated that there was a problem with that department that the young lady witnessed from, that probation department and the program that was going on back then. He was aware of some shady activity. It was obvious the way he acted and the way he said. So all of that's bearing in on his decision when it comes down to the final decision of this case. And I'm truly amazed that he still hasn't made a decision. I would have thought that he would have made one within a couple of days. I mean, damn, it's been over a month. And we're still waiting for his decision. So he's doing some serious digging into what was going on back then. But if he comes up with a witness or a judge or somebody who says they remember that case 25 years back and tries to say that, it was definitely him, I'm going to call bullshit again. So, like I said, I don't believe that nobody's ran his name. Just like we already know, JJ ain't short of running his name, pulling records, doxing his information, giving it to a known criminal because he's so convinced that he's a good old boy. And that's another reason that they all flock to Wrangler, is because he puts off that good old boy vibe. And they flock to it, you know, like no end. So then we get JJ, the jailer, who gets involved in it. And what does he do? He jumps on a YouTube channel that is being run by the most low life bitch I've ever seen, by the name of Michael Kaiser, otherwise known as Fraud at Wrangler. Now, Fraud at Wrangler, Kaiser, whatever you want to call him, has started this channel, this YouTube channel, to go against the auditing community. He calls them frauditors. And he got started out by getting boosted up from a channel called Frauditor Troll. Now, he misguided and falsified who he was, or just make it what it was. He lied, something he's very good at. He is an absolute habitual liar. But he lied and said that he was a veteran and he had done all this time in combat, and 10 years. He was a staff sergeant. He was a ranger, and he did 3 tours, earned 2 Purple Hearts, was at the Battle of Tora Bora. And Harder Troll, he took him right on in, because to him, that was somebody to be able to have to help validify his uh, opinions about the Constitution. You know, now I've got a real soldier, you know, someone who really put their life on the line to defend the Constitution. So he brought him in and he helped him to get his channel started and to get his subscriber base built up. And then the stories started not adding up. That's one problem with a habitual liar, is they don't know when to quit. So he kept telling story after story after story, and finally, Fraud Troll started asking questions around to other people, and finally confronted him. And some people put in Freedom of Information Act request, got some copies of his DD 214, which he claims was in storage. And anybody that's been in the military, you know that a DD 214 is like your birth certificate. You don't put it away somewhere and just forget about it. You keep it somewhere where it's safe and secure. You know, mine's locked in a safe. But when they asked him about his, he wouldn't produce it. He said it was in storage in another state. So that brought up a lot of questions. And then after they finally did some research, Master Sergeant retired. He done Freedom of Information Act, and he got a copy of his DD 214. And the son of a bitch never even passed out through basic training. Twice he tried and failed out both times. Now, earlier I said that, I did a lot of reserve time, and the unit that I was in was the 100th Division Leadership Academy out of Kentucky. And what they did was they ran a drill sergeant academy. It was back in the 80s, we had a real big push in the military of trying to get a build up. We just come out of the end of Vietnam. So the government, they're trying to rebuild their army. They started putting out a bunch of enlistment bonuses and a lot of different things to increase recruitment. And our reception stations were overflowing. A lot of times you'd sit there sometimes a month before you get picked up and carried over to start your basic. And reception station is, for those that don't know, is when you first go in, that's the first place you go. And when you get there, that's where they teach you to stand at attention and how to make your bed. They take you to the doctors and they get all your shots and they carry you to supply and they get your uniforms and they get your hair cut and they get you settled into the basic beginning of your military career. And whenever a basic training unit graduates, then those drill sergeants will go over to the reception station and they'll pick up another group and they'll start all over again. So I've had a lot of experience dealing with basic training. And I've seen your type many, many times that washed out, you know. And as I understand it, it was a bee sting that washed you out the first time. So, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the second time was shin splints. So now they all went out and exposed old Kaiser of his bullshit. And they disemboweled him from their community. And Fraud or Troll, he said many times he don't understand why people have left or haven't left, why people still are flocking to him and uh, continuing to watch his channel. Well, it's real easy if you really sit down and look at it. Now, his title that he goes by, let me share another screen here. Right here. Wrangler Jim Jones L. Bay of the Kool-Aid Rednecks. Now, let's do a little breaking down of this. Jim Jones, Wrangler Jim Jones. Well, we've heard of Jim Jones before, and we know what happened with him. And here we got the Kool-Aid Rednecks. The Kool-Aid Rednecks. Well, Jim Jones had his Kool-Aid, and we know how that turned out. Now, if you'll look in the chat on the side over there, you'll see several people that have a WCM or a WCL. Well, what that stands for is Wrangler Cult Member. And that's what this boils down to, is exactly that, is a cult. Just like the first Jim Jones and his cult, we have Wrangler Jim Jones and his cult. And that's why people are still continuing to flock to it. Now, I did a little more research and I pulled up. Hopefully, you can see this. I went to the AI Copilot and I asked, um, what what kind of person is a cult leader? What are some of the identifiers of a cult leader? So we'll read here. Number one, narcissism. Cult leaders are often display an excessive sense of self-importance and the need for admiration. They seek to be the center of attention and they crave adoration from their followers. They, number two, have authoritarian tendencies. Cult leaders wield an absolute authority over their followers. They demand unwavering loyalty and obedience, often suppressing dissent and critical thinking. Number three, manipulation and crowd control. These leaders are skilled manipulators. They use psychological tactics to control their followers' thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Their charisma and persuasive abilities draw people in. Number four, unpredictability. Cult leaders thrive on unpredictability. Their erratic behavior keeps followers off balance, creating an air of mystery, divine inspiration, and the unpredictable reinforcements their perceived supernatural powers. Number five, isolation. Cult leaders isolate their followers from external influences. They discourage contact with family, friends who might challenge their authority or beliefs. Number six, exploitation. Many cult leaders exploit their followers financially, emotionally, or physically. They may demand significant financial contributions, labor, or even engage in abusive practices. Number seven, zero tolerance for criticism. Cult leaders cannot tolerate uh, dissent, dissent or questioning. They suppress any criticism and often react aggressively when challenged. Unreasonable fears. Cult leaders often foster irrational fears about the outside world. Followers believe in evil conspiracies, precautions, or impending disasters, reinforcing their dependence on the leader. So let's compare now Mr. Kaiser to some of these. Number one, let's start with it. They have an excessive self importance and need for admiration. They seek to be the center of attention. They crave adoration from their followers. Well, we already know that that's exactly Kaiser. He's got to be the center of attention. Authoritarian tendencies. Now, cult leaders wield absolute authority over their followers. They demand unwavering loyalty and obedience, and they often suppress dissent and critical thinking. And also, if you go down to number seven, zero tolerance for criticism. Well, I'll challenge any of you to go into one of his chats and try to question anything about him. I promise you, it will not show up. It will get blocked. It will get banned because he has all of his moderators, his cult members, all set to immediately block and cover up anybody who tries to question him about anything he does or says. If anybody tries to criticize him, it's over. You will not get in. Manipulation and control. Now, he continues to manipulate everyone by his narrative. See, he takes the fact that these people all have the same hatred, let's say, for the frauditor community, as they call it. But I have a few other things I want to show. Let's take a look here. That will support what I'm saying. This screen here. And we want to go right where we're set at.
Well, oh, that's good. You're right, Mike 5551. Damn, we have got some folks in the damn Michael army tonight, don't we, JJ?
The Michael Army. Huh. Right off the bat. The Michael Army. Okay. Well, another thing too is a member of our community, KY Reacts, was in a car accident. So let's see what Kaiser has to say about that.
Now, keep in mind, by this point, Sunday afternoon, or Sunday morning, we found it. By Sunday afternoon, they've already got the GoFundMe up. Monday, he claims that he went home. And again, there is no way in hell. They discharged him the day after those open reductions. Because even though it's rare, it still happens where the body rejects the implant. There is no way in hell he would have been in that hospital for a minimum days. All right. I've got implant. I've got hardware in my body. All right. 2 weeks. Actually, it was 15 days. 15 days I had to stay in the hospital before I got discharged from the hospital to go out on leave.
So there you go. There's more of his military claims. Excuse me. Where he claims that he was injured and had to stay in the hospital before he could go on leave. Well, in order to go on leave, first of all, you have to be in the military. So that's bullshit again. Another lie. right here recently. And the whole story about how that they wouldn't let him go home, well, I can tell you again, that's bullshit. Because you're not the only one with hardware in you. 'Cause in 2011, I flipped a motorcycle and almost tore my left arm off. I had one rotator cuff and a skin holding my arm on. I shredded the bicep. I broke the collarbone. I split the ball of the socket of my shoulder, tore 3 rotator cuffs, tore a chunk of meat out of my arm, all the way to the bone, an inch and a half wide and about 8 inches long, that they refused to sew up. They left it open in order to let it heal from the inside out to prevent infection. And my wife had to clean it every night. They took and put me on a plane or a helicopter and flew me to Nashville to a trauma center. And I came home the same night. So all your bullshit about there's no way they would let him go home. Nowadays, they don't keep you in the hospital. They treat you and they get you the hell out of there and they let you heal at home. So again, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. And as far as the GoFundMe is concerned, what the hell difference does it matter to you? Did you pay anything to it? Is there one dime of your money spent to it? If people want to help them out, then it's between them and the person giving them money. Otherwise, it's none of your damn business. It doesn't make any bearing on you. But I want to talk also again about our little buddy JJ because while y'all was doing all this digging around, you mentioned something else here. Let me find it. Time mark. I got my little notes here. Actually, it's just a little bit farther up the line. We'll just play it right on through to it.
Over 2 weeks. And that was 1 plate, 9 screws. All right. They did not send him home the day after they put multiple pins and screws in his feet and ankles. Wolf Noir, Kason. And I know a lot of you slipped in the last few minutes and I haven't got you. I do apologize for that. Christian B and NC. Ben C. Inlots. What's up, brother? Hello, Battle Wolf Noir Gaming. Joy Bennett.
Hey, Wrangler.
Hey, buddy.
The other thing is Flight Tracker 24 or Flight Tracker Radar 24. I can't remember the exact name of it. Go back
Yeah,
in history.
hey, brother, you got some pretty heavy background noise.
Hang on, let me get outside the shopping center.
Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, found this one. And then you guys being the good roughnecks that you all are, you all went looking even further. And look what we find it in.
All right, maybe it's back here a little farther.
Good luck to you. So anyway, we start doing some research, and we're doing some right this second. There's research going on right now, and we're tracking this shit down. The problem is that the fatality, him being life flighted from the scene, those are very, very unique characteristics. Factor that in with his name, his driver's license number, and his date of birth.
Right there. His name, his driver's license number, and his date of birth. Huh. I wonder where you got that information from. his driver's license number. I don't see it on that GoFundMe nowhere. I ain't seen it on his YouTube channel. So it leaves me to wonder, has Mr. JJ been using his abilities as a jailer to look somebody up and get their information? We already know that he isn't none too short of that, since he gave you the court documents, which you then blasted on the YouTube with all of Chris's information, but you claim you redacted it, but you didn't at first. I wish I had caught in time to record it and thought about it, but I was watching at the time it happened. And you posted everything. And then finally, someone came into the comments and told you that you had put all that information out. So then you went back and took it down, edited it, put it back up, and been running around claiming that you was a good person, that you made sure you redacted everything. Bullshit. Again, a habitual liar. So we know JJ gave you that stuff, and apparently, as far as I can see, there ain't any other way that you was able to get his date of birth, his driver's license number, to be able to do all this searching that y'all are doing. If you ask me, it's more like stalking, but that'd be up to the courts to decide. While we're on the subject of Michael Kaiser, I'm off to light a cigarette for this one. This worthless piece of shit, he's lower than whale shit. Now, this guy has 5 felonies that he's already been convicted of, where he broke into houses and stole, and stole pain pills from an old lady, climbing in her window. And now he's currently facing 5 other felonies, which he plea bargained out a part of it. Who knows what he done, if he ratted on somebody or what he did, but he took a plea on part of them. Now he's still facing 2 felonies, where he stole a safe from his boss, somebody who finally gave him a chance, gave him a second chance, and got a credit card out of that safe, tried to use it, and now he's currently facing those charges. And the other thing he's faced is he's the only suspect in a capital murder. Now, this is the murder of a Marine veteran named Donald Cameron Atwood Jr. Now, I'm going to bring up a video here from Shiz. Shiz Happens is the channel. And I want to show you a little bit about this whole thing. Shiz has done a really deep dive into this, and I highly suggest that you go to her channel and watch the full video uh, in order to get the full version of it all.
I want to tell you, all of you, I've been shot at, I've been shot, I've returned fire, I've killed.
Michael Kaiser, or Fraud at Wrangler, remains to this day the only suspect in the senseless and tragic murder of Donald Cameron Jr.
Just know the The murder case is not going to paint me in a very pretty light. It's not. That murder case did not paint me in a very pretty light. It didn't, in any regard. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant.
Now let's stop and think about that a minute. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. If that isn't about the coldest, low down statement I have ever heard in my life. And if I was being charged with a capital murder, I would be screaming up and down that I didn't do it, that I was innocent. The last thing I'd be saying is whether it's true or not is irrelevant. That this man and his loss of his life was irrelevant. Let that sink in. Look at that face. Look at those eyes. To me, he looks like a knockoff of Charles Manson. All he's missing is the little X between his eyes. Let's go on and listen to a little more of this.
Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant.
Donald Cameron was a dad, a son, a brother, and a friend to many. In his free time, he loved going out on his pontoon boat and riding his motorcycle with the Patriot Guard riders. Donald Cameron Jr. served his country for 4 years with the Marine Corps before medically retiring due to a diagnosis of Reiter's syndrome. His condition required multiple surgeries on his feet and left him mobility impaired. The Cameron family alerted police after Donald had failed to call or arrive for the family's Christmas gathering. His body was discovered in his Ohatchee, Alabama home on December 26, 2009. He was shot execution style in his living room. While Donald laid lifeless on the floor, his soulless killer, utilizing a homemade silencer, administered a second shot to the back of Donald Cameron's head.
Now think about that. While he's laying on the floor, he walks up behind him with a silenced pistol, puts it to the back of his head, and executes him. Pure and simple, an execution. And this is the guy that all these people are clinging to because he tells them what they want to hear. He manipulates the stories, convinces them that he's reformed and that he's taken on a new life. And he does it by saying things like, you know, if I can just earn your respect, or I can be worthy of you. Let's finish listening to Chiz here.
Along with his life, Donald's PlayStation 3 and firearms were also stolen. His PlayStation 3 had apparently connected to the Kaiser family Wi-Fi network before Donald's body had been discovered, and was later recovered from Michael Kaiser's possession. Along with the PlayStation, a book on how to make homemade silencers was seized as evidence.
They found him with the PlayStation. They found a book on making homemade silencers. He tried to pawn the guns. Now let's go on.
Michael Kaiser was eventually charged with capital murder in the death of Mr. Cameron. Court documents from the case reveal that Kaiser had a history of stealing firearms. The documents also list a means of disposal, which was described to the victim's family at the time as him selling the pilfered firearms to area pawn shops. The case sadly was dismissed prior to trial due to an error in wording on the indictment, which is outlined in the state's motion to reconsider dismissal with prejudice, a motion that was granted.
Now let me explain a little bit there. When they made out the court documents, they made an error in the wording. And the lawyers realizing this, they put in a request to dismiss it with prejudice, which means that they can later bring it back up. But they knew that if they tried to prosecute it with that error, that his lawyers would take advantage of it, probably get a mistrial, and he would go free and avoid being tried again because of double jeopardy. A clerical error has let this killer walk free.
23 words stalled the ability for justice to be served for Donald Cameron.
23 words.
Due to the case being dismissed without prejudice, there is still some glimmer of hope that justice can be served for Donald Atwater Cameron Jr. Much to the dismay of the Cameron family, Mr. Kaiser is on YouTube, masquerading as fraud at Wrangler and being blindly supported by people who have no idea just what kind of monster he really is. I hope this serves as a cautionary tale. That creator you're supporting may just be part of the evil walking among us.
Now, I think she said it right there, really. The evil that's walking amongst us. And if you look him in those eyes, you can see the evil in him. So, it's a sad world. Now, he claims that he brings receipts with everything that he does. Yet, he doesn't bring any receipts to show his military service that he so claims. And he says on his channel all the time that he will never ask for a dime. Well, done a little checking around here and see what we found. This chronic assholeitis is Mr. Kaiser, and that's a damn sure description of him for sure, because he is an absolute asshole. But he says, "Can you do me a favor? Kimmy is in Virginia till next week, and long story short, she's detailing her mom's house and getting it ready to sell, and her sister took off with her wallet in her car, over an hour away. Will you, if you can, shoot her $30 or $40 on payroll and I'll cash app you whatever you send in the morning, plus $20. I'd really appreciate it, bro. My PayPal is still checking shit, and trust me, neither one of us wants my wife out of smokes and caffeine. So, there's always an excuse. My credit card's not working, the ATM's down, someone hacked my account and the bank locked it. Always something when these people try to hit you up for money. The other funny part of this is my wife that he always talks about, my precious Kimmy, my beautiful wife. Well, his beautiful wife lives about 6 states away from him. He talks about how he gets to wake up next to her. The only way he wakes up next to her is if she's calling him on the phone or they're sniping on the computer. You know, he always talks about how much he loves her and how she's so good to him and all this. And he doesn't even live with her. She's she don't want to be near him. He's in Oklahoma and she's in Virginia. And he made an accusation that Chris claimed that he had nude pictures of Kimmy, but that's not what Chris said. He didn't say he had nude pictures. He said there's nude pictures being passed around on the internet, and they are, where she sent them out before the two of y'all got together, Mr. Kaiser. So I know for sure of where 4 of them are. But, you know, you the idiot that finally stepped up. She couldn't find no better, so she stuck with you. But you always talking about my sweet Kimmy. You know, if she's right there with you waking up, how come you never show her on screen with you? How come she's always in the chat window and she's sending you super chats? Now, what sense does that make, folks? Why would his wife send him super chats? That'd be like me sending my wife $5 super chats so that YouTube could take $3 of it and she'd get 2. When she's right here in the same room and I can walk over and hand her a 20 and tell her to go have a good time. But he tries to play off this whole wonderful marriage, this wonderful life. You know, it's so ridiculous. But again, that's a narcissistic liar. Constantly lying, constantly telling bullshit. So when you claim that you did all this stuff in the military, uh, we all know it's a damn lie. Why don't you show the world what a kind of a man you are and admit to your lies? Own up to them, as you say. You said that you've told everybody about your past and what you've done, but you've not admitted to those lies and you haven't apologized to the military veterans and the soldiers that are still out there today for trying to steal that glory. Glory that you could never get. It's really a good thing, though, that you failed out in basic training, because a worthless son of a bitch like you that couldn't get through BCT wouldn't have stood a chance in combat, and you would have probably ended up getting somebody else killed. So it's a really good thing that your sorry ass never made it. Now, another thing he claims about is that he's clean. Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one, too. And let's see here. Which one do we want now? See, I've run around with a pretty rough crowd most of my life. Hung out with some shady people. Uh, known a few people with pill addicts, and I've seen their reactions to it several times. So let's take a look at this video now.
He's off camera first. He's behind the scenes doing his bump. He just came back after doing his bump.
He's checking to make sure his other line's good, I guess.
Pinched his nose.
Punished as a whole group for nothing, and I hate you.
And now here it comes. Here it comes. That dope straining down his throat. He's off camera first. He's behind the scenes doing his bump. He just came back after doing his bump.
He's checking to make sure his other line's good, I guess.
Pinched his nose.
I shouldn't be punished as a whole group for nothing, and I hate you.
And now here it comes. Here it comes. That dope straining down his throat.
I've seen that more than once. I've seen many a time when the people get that gag. So don't tell me that you wasn't doing nothing. You're full of shit. I know what you was doing. So now, you always talk about everybody else as a bunch of criminals. Any of the ones that have called you out, well, you can dig around in my past all you want to, because I have never been arrested. I do not have a criminal record. So I can sit here and say that I'm not a criminal, but you are a habitual criminal. And that was a definite bump. I've seen it too many times. And anybody that's been around it has seen it. That big old drain hit that throat, and ooh, here it comes. So you go on telling everybody you're clean and you're straight. But you owe the veteran community an apology, and you owe an explanation. But we'll never get it. It'll never happen. Because you'll continue to go on lying, just like you always have, and manipulating. And your little buddy JJ, who I can't believe that, well, actually I can believe it. Him and Ray swinging around on your coattail because they're just as crooked. Only thing I can say about JJ is thank God he can't shoot a pistol. There's a man alive today because he's a lousy shot. So, but I'm going to call it an end at this point. I just want to say that the world is full of evil, and you have to just look for it and see it, recognize it, and do your best to put an end to it. And Michael Kaiser's going to get his end, whether it's he gets arrested or whether he just self implodes, one of the two. And the rest of the world, we're going to get to sit back and watch it happen. And I can't wait. I hope we get to see them haul you off in cuffs, just like they did Chili. Now, I will say again, though, I do think that Chili got a rough deal. I think the judge was biased because he showed his ass. And so she threw the book at him. And I hope maybe that he has a chance on an appeal, because I don't believe he deserves 180 days in jail. But I hope you get a life sentence. Now they're looking to give you lethal injection, but that's too good for you. You don't get to get off that easy. You need to spend the rest of your life behind bars, where every day you can sit and contemplate what you've done and help to defend the Constitution by speaking up to your public officials. Put the word out. Bring this to their attention when you see this corruption that's going on. Corruption like what's going on in Meade County. All right. Well, that brings us to an end for tonight. But hopefully we'll get to see the day that Michael Kaiser finally gets his. And I hope I'm around to see it. Eventually it's going to happen one way or the other. Either the law's going to catch up with him, or he's going to implode and explode on his own. And then all of his little cult members can sit back and cry about it. But one way or another, karma's a bitch, and it's going to catch up with you sooner or later. I just hope I'm around to see it. So thank y'all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you would, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, give me a thumb up, leave a comment below. Unlike Kaiser, I don't screen my comments. I'll listen to everything you've got to say, just like my buddies, old Stone Vet. Shout out to the Stone Vet there, pimping that hat tonight again. And just like he doesn't block anybody in his chat, he lets the trolls come in and say whatever they want to say, and he ain't afraid of it. I feel the same way. If you got something to say, bring it on. I will definitely answer it. So take care of one another. God bless. We'll see you in the next video. This is Osarge, and I'm out.